Hi, this is Lisa from Question the Narrative, wishing everybody a great day. How is everyone, wherever you are, today on this Monday, the 9th of March in 2026? And I'm here back with Honey Golden. Honey, how are you today?
I'm good. It's very wild.
Oh my gosh, it's totally wild.
Yeah.
But this is funny because this is the first time, honey, that I'm actually getting you during your day as opposed to
Mhm.
super early in the morning, and I'm doing late at night. So I think I'm like you're more energetic, which is
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm more awake, which is good.
This is very good. We
Yeah.
love this. We love this kind of thing.
Mhm.
So very interesting. It is crazy. Things are very interesting. Things are heating up. We have so much going on. I think I want to start out with asking a very sort of strange question, and I want to talk about sort of the quantum physics of everything that's going on. I'm seeing right now that, of course, discernment is obviously one of the things that we've been talking about for such a long period of time to get us through these incredible times as we're going through the final stages of the ascension process. However, what I think was very interesting is that what we're seeing right now is that the ability to tell the truth or to discern what's really true is challenging because there's a bit of truth in a lot of things that are not true. But also, there are truths that are true. And then another thing is true at the same time. And I'll call that the superpositioning of truth. So that's the quantum phase where Schrodinger's cat that scientific experiment said that at the same time the cat was dead and alive because it was dependent upon where you are. And there's a lot of talk, honey, about quantum computing and how the Chinese have come out with a quantum operating system that is free and competing with what the American technology, particularly the Microsofts of the world, are offering. So, is this concept of superpositioning of truths, is that accurate, or am I making this up as a pattern that what I'm seeing?
So, two things are going on at the same time, a lot of times. And also, we have to remember you may be wanting. So, let's say that one person thinks, oh, well, this person's already exited, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then another person is like, oh no, they can't go anywhere. So what happens? One person will think they're still here, and maybe they'll even see them. And one person will think that they're gone. Like we're basically in the merging of a lot of timelines and parallels right now because they're all mixed up. We're in this like really wild experience where we're in the split, but people are positioning themselves. They're figuring out where they're at. And the thing with China is, I mean, they're basically planting a seed, right? They're saying it's going to be free. Quantum will be free. Guess what? It's free. You can do it whenever you want. You are quantum. But it is also going to be free for humanity. But what does that also do? It shows something that basically the system that we're about to use is also quantum. So it's introducing it, and it's a reason for the US and China to join forces for something, for the
Mm.
world to all be under one huge golden dome.
We love that. Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. But so the concept of quantum is coming up. So that seems to be why when I said the superpositioning and questioning that, so that's sort of in the collective consciousness in the field right now. So that quantumness, but also what you're saying is that we're seeding that idea because it's not always, the first thing that comes that trips off the tongue is being quantum or multiple superpositioning that could be multiple things. But what also leads to the discussion of parallel and multiple universes. And that's also sort of what they're seeding too. So there's a lot of seeding, and that's very interesting, which comes back, honey, because we constantly are saying this about when you hear a story, when you hear something coming out there, the best thing to do is to step back and observe and to say, why am I being told that? What do I need to know? Or why should I be knowing about this now? Right?
There is so much that's being seeded right now, and it's kind of shocking. And one of the things that's being seeded that everybody's paying attention to is the Epstein files are out now, and they've basically used them to dump all the information out to the world, like the cures for cancer, all the stuff is in there, everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
And now people are saying, why aren't there protests about this? And why aren't there arrests happening yet? So that's being seeded. So we're getting close to having some more action. And then also, there's a lot of questions about Israel and the Rothschilds. And I mean, all that stuff's being seeded really hard right now.
So, but that's interesting. So you're going back to and saying that the Epstein files is a way. So really the purpose of what you're saying the Epstein files disclosure is to disclose all these things that are coming out,
Yeah.
everything that we need to know from, as you said, like the Rockefellers with the education system, the Rockefellers also again with the medical system of what we're doing about here, the Rothschilds with the financial system, which is a major, major thing. You're right. And all these things are coming out. Another thing that's coming out very strongly right now, they're using the Epstein files for, is to disgrace the British royal family. And they're doing it through Andrew, the former Prince Andrew. And now they've expanded it. So he's lost his title. He's been stripped of his title. His wife, the former, or I don't know, she's not former, she's still the Duchess of York. And she's noted in the Epstein files being quite disgraced. Because she's a friend of Epstein and saying she wanted to marry him. She said it would be great for him. And then the other thing that's coming out right now, the next level is it's going to the next generation. Eugenie, Princess Eugenie, who was the eldest daughter of Sarah and Andrew. And she's now involved in being involved with Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, and Epstein just immediately after he got released from jail, so that he was known as being a pedophile. She came in, she was coming in there, and they were offering visits to the palace and all sorts of different things. So what's going on there? Why are they using, or is there a reason that they're using Andrew and his family to be disclosed with the Epstein files?
For one thing, he's kind of like a marshmallow. Like, I feel like he's gonna roll over. Like, he's gonna roll over and tell all the stories on everybody to save himself.
Mm-hmm.
However, it also shows that how they were corrupting their own children. So not only were they corrupting other people's children, but they were corrupting their own. And I do feel like I was getting like a flashback to news that we heard a long time ago, that the Rothschilds or one of those families, maybe it was the other one that starts with an R, but they basically took over the royal family. So they took them out of their, and then replaced them with themselves. So those are Rothschilds that we're looking at right now, or at least the actors are supposed to be Rothschilds. And
Mm-hmm.
it feels like that knowledge won't take too long to come out either.
So they but it seems like they're using Andrew and his family to do that because they're not going after William and Kate. They're not going after Charles and Camilla, although there's always these little peripheral stories, but they're really using the second son, the next in, that was supposed to be right after Charles,
But
to be
he
involved.
will open it up to the rest of them.
Right. And it's important
Yeah.
right now. So they're seeding that consciousness. So fascinating on that. So Eugenie's in the hot seat right now, what you're saying. And it comes down to what I got out of it was, as you're listening to the story, is that when does she become responsible for her decisions to participate?
I mean, really, when I don't know. I mean, that's hard
Right. This
because,
is the
yeah,
hard
it's
part. This is
hard.
the hard part.
Now, when she becomes a preteen and she's doing things to babies, I don't know the story. But if you're that old and you're doing things to babies, then there's some, there's knowledge there, there's awareness there. And, but the thing is they've been abused themselves. They're totally
Exactly.
brainwashed. I mean, and I would say 18, but really, like, you should figure it out before you're 18 that it's not okay. But however, that's all they know. That's all they run with, or people
And,
like that. So
right. And
I don't even
that's their
feel like
role.
that's her anymore. I feel like she's also gone.
Yeah, because it really raised the subject because they said that she was invited to a lunch with Sarah Ferguson and Jeffrey Epstein, and that this is where things were happening, and she was 20 years old, and she may not have known anything. But the truth is, that's why I'm asking this question, which is more about when are we responsible for our actions when we've only been taught that, and is that a seeding for us to talk about grace for everybody who's been involved in everything, which I think is a really important concept
It's
right now.
important, you can't like be angry, but we also don't want any of this ever going on. So there is an ending point. And with a lot of people, it has to be case by case, like how
Mhm.
aware, and that is going to come down to consciousness, especially for those kids. But like when you look at someone like Britney Spears or whatever, who was completely abused from a very young age, and a lot of those Mickey Mouse stars were, then, what do you think about somebody who's older and in that position? Like, then what do you do? You know?
Yeah.
And then obviously she was probably taken out at some point as well. So, because the Britney Spears we see now is not the same person, but they're outing all of the things, so that everything's transparent and it never happens again. The frequency won't support it ever happening again. So that's
Yeah.
important for everybody to know. But this kind of stuff, in order to be cleansed, it has to be seen.
Yeah, this is very, very important. So that all of this seeding, and I think they're using Andrew and the family to be the ones to out so many different things. And I think also this idea of where, at what phase of development do we say someone's responsible because many, many generations. And maybe it's teaching us how we got there. Now, you mentioned all of this about like you're essentially with Britney Spears and all the people who were taken out. How many are of the people that we see right now are clones versus these doubles or these actors?
I get most are actors. If there are clones, they're old, like they've been around for a while and they're probably gonna short out soon.
Because the clones we hear don't last that long, do they?
They don't
Mm.
last that long. I feel like they also don't make them anymore. Like those were shut down. So
Mhm.
there are a few that are still being used, but there's not very many.
Yeah, okay.
So
It's very interesting. Very interesting. So let's go into something a little obviously that's happening right now. What's happening in Iran. Now, this is this sort of, in some ways, the US bombing Iran came out of nowhere. And in other ways, it's been leading up for many, many years and for a long time doing it. And I think we've discussed about, sort of what the purpose was. But I want to ask a different question. I want to ask you why the partnership between the US and Israel is being used for this military action in Iran. Because at one point, Trump was saying, not doing this with them. Another point is that Netanyahu supposedly has something on it. So, what's the narrative for, and what are we supposed to get out of this and question from it?
Well, at some point, we have to see how Israel is connected. So the government of Israel is connected not only to the United States, but to many governments. And the United States, a lot of the government is dual citizenship with Israel, and that has to be seen at some point. Also, he went to Trump's house twice, right? Mar-a-Lago. So he went there twice. So I think it's going to look really icky, for a minute. And then it's going to be like, oh, yeah, we've been in an operation. Here's the
Mhm.
military, enter the military and enter basically that there's been something going on for a very long time and they had to get to this point in order to take down the Rothschilds and the nasty government that's been, basically running everything. So Trump will be seen as something negative for a moment and then switched. And by no means are we supposed to think that he's a perfect being. Um, but he is here to take down all the 3D stuff. So, and he is amazing. I mean, the amount of energetics that has been pushed on that poor person, as far as like, the amount of energy that's generated to either be mean to him or be kind to him or worship him or hate him. Like so much has been pointed at him.
Mhm.
So I feel like he'll still be in the mix of what's going on as far as the military goes, and he will be seen as part of the operation and not necessarily the only one making decisions.
Mhm.
That's what it
Mhm.
feels like as things unfold. And I think they're going to be slightly honest with people. I don't feel like they'll tell everybody everything. But I do think there will be a moment of disclosure. And honestly, I never really thought, for quite a while, I thought, oh, it's just going to be so easy. Well, I don't think that the White Hats ever thought that. So they've been preparing for a big kind of painful few days of disclosure where, we're getting
Get a
close
little
to, I would
crazy.
say. Yeah. With arrests and they might show some of the things that already happened with the trials and they will explain what's been going on. And I don't think Trump will be the one that explains most of it. I just feel like he's going to be a part of it and he will
Yeah.
explain parts of it. But I think that there will be some very big heads of military that will basically lay it out for people.
But you're raising a really important point. First of all, if Trump did it, he's so polarizing, it would be impossible for that to function. And he was supposed to be polarizing like that.
Yeah.
Given now the lack of confidence in any leadership right now across any avenue within government or society,
Mhm.
how is that going to work? How will who would be someone who would be someone that people will listen to now?
I think the military will be the ones that actually, come out and say this is what's going on. Now, they may introduce some people that we think have been gone. They might start introducing them, and, you know, JFK Jr. is one that they could bring in. The thing is not to attach a whole bunch of, oh, this, it has to happen this way, it has to, because we slow it down
Right.
when we do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there will be some, like a cast of characters that comes out and talks about this is what was really going on.
Yeah.
And
And this is
yeah,
interesting. Yeah. No, this is super, super important what you're talking about. Let's also ask this question. What about the bombing? So the retaliation, you've got Israel who is bombing the UAE. Oh, I'm sorry, Iran bombing the UAE. Israel bombs Iran. Iran says, instead of bombing and bombing Israel as well, I'm going to bomb all of my brothers and sisters around me, the whole Arab world around him. But number one is the UAE by far. And then the UAE comes out with their narrative. It's like, you know what? Emirates is super safe. We're going to be, flying 35 flights a day out, and we've got fighter jets escorting our passenger aircraft out. We're making sure everybody's safe. The Emir has said, okay, anybody who's a tourist who's staying there, they've been ordered to allow them to stay without payment. They'll take care of all their fees. What's the story there about the UAE and why is it so important to Iran?
there's a bunch of things underground over there that have been hidden for a really long time. And it's almost like a highlight, like shining a flashlight on those areas.
Mhm.
And as they're helped, as their governments are exposed, like all these things that have been hidden are going to start to be exposed. And what comes into me is it was a desert for a reason.
Hmm.
Like it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be a desert. And that was
Mm.
created to happen and to keep people away from it. Because they were doing things there. And that has to be exposed as well.
So if it was created to be a desert to keep people away, then the UAE created this mega metropolis. What was the reason for them to bring that kind of attention to an
I
area
feel
that
like
they
there was like trafficking and they, I don't know, is the UAE, what is that
Mm.
exactly?
The United Arab Emirates, which are five different states of the Arab Emirates, and Dubai and Abu
Oh,
Dhabi
Dubai.
are two.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
because
Dubai and
Dubai
Abu
always
Dhabi.
comes in as really icky.
Mhm.
And basically there are things going on there that have to be shown.
Mhm.
So that's why.
And it's fascinating to be over there. So there's a lot of that, and there's this whole focus, and it's sort of like it becomes the new New York City to be out, like it's a financial hub. Right now, Dubai accepts XRP for real estate transactions. Dubai has attracted more offshore. There's no corporate tax. It's legal to do that. There's enormous amounts of money, enormous amounts of real estate. It's grown rapidly. So it's a fascinating sort of study in Abu Dhabi too. But it's an interesting narrative right now.
And it
The
doesn't
Dubai,
feel safe for women or children, really, to me.
it's
So
very
there's some stuff going on there. I think the reason, didn't they like have some sort of flooding event where they were
huge flooding.
practicing climate control?
Mhm.
Yeah.
At the
I
end of the
feel like they
year.
flooded out a lot of things underground during that moment.
Mm,
There was a lot of stuff over there that just feels kind of
mm,
gross, almost like a fancy Las Vegas.
right. And also the fakeness of Las Vegas
Yeah.
and Disney World and all those things that are not the real. So how I just described Dubai, is like a New York, and also in the ancient roots, Babylon. Was Dubai Babylon?
I get no, but it definitely is connected somehow.
Is Iran Babylon?
No,
Tehran. Where was Babylon? Or was it
I
real?
think it's been in more than one place. That's what I'm getting. So,
Okay.
I think it's been in the US. It's been in Africa. So,
Mm.
yeah. And it's the original one
Mhm.
where they have the story about it. It feels like it was in the United States, actually.
When it was the United States, was it New York?
No. I get in the middle.
Very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So, like in
All right.
another kind of flat,
Okay.
like right in the middle. And that might have been around the same time as, or maybe directly after that whole Egyptian thing that was in the Grand Canyon and then went out into Africa as well. So, I mean, it was probably on the other side of Colorado.
Interesting. Hmm.
That is
Okay.
really interesting. Now I want to go look at the map.
Okay, because that's not the middle. So the other side, they mean the east side of Colorado.
Yeah,
Interesting.
the
Okay.
middle. Hmm.
Wow. Like Kansas City,
Yeah.
Kansas. And Kansas,
Kansas City, I think, is shut down today too. The
yeah, because
airports.
the airport was shut down. Exactly. Fascinating. Okay. A little Babylon there, a little Babylon here. We love that. Hmm.
Crazy.
So, all right. So we've got that. So let's talk about one other thing, last thing about the war. Is there any new weaponry? And what is the US using for weapons right now for this military action?
They're using ET weapons.
Okay, I love it when she does that face. It's my favorite. That means like, oh, we got something. Yay.
Mhm.
Interesting. And so is this being much more careful, more specific? Can you describe anything more about what kind of weaponry they're using?
I mean, it feels like laser pointer type weaponry. Like it's so precise.
Hmm.
Um, and how they supposedly took out the leader of Iran. I feel like he's been gone for a while, but they, they basically just like, okay, this room, that's the one you destroy, and everything else stays okay, and we're just
Mhm.
gonna pretend that we got him, kind of
Got
thing.
it.
That's,
Got it. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this is really interesting. So how long do we think this is going to last for? Or what we're being told?
this little war that we're supposedly in. Not much longer. I really feel like a lot of stuff will be wrapped up over the next 2 months.
Hmm.
A lot of stuff will happen over the next 2 months. And if you think about it, we're in Mercury retrograde. So, what a perfect time to
Mm.
basically actually have something happen that they've been working on forever and ever and ever, or for it to happen right after that, or whatever. But I was like, oh, this is like the perfect opportunity, and everything looks so close.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So close. Oh my gosh. So very interesting. So then you've got one other thing. What about the roles that we're playing right now? Sort of these key roles. You've got your political figures, which are,
Mhm.
which is Trump and Netanyahu, and then you've got various other heads of state. And it seems that Maloney is playing a big role because she's adeptly going back and forth, not causing problems, but making things happen and sort of guiding the EU in a
Mhm.
different direction. And then you've got people who were not elected, even whether they were corruptly elected or not. Jared Kushner, who is he?
The Rothschild. Yeah.
The original Jared Kushner is a
The
Rothschild?
original. There's an actor there now, but the original was Rothschild.
And let's talk about the actors that play these roles. Are they humans or are they hybrids or are they ETs?
Almost all of them are human. So it comes in. And when I tune into them as like an actor group, I see like this enormous like operation, this huge building, and everybody trying to get their tights on and trying to get their stuff on. And like it feels really frantic. And
Mm,
like there's a lot going on, and they have to be multiple people as well.
because not one, because it's so much, like, I mean, listen, if Trump did everything that he was going to do, one person could not physically
No,
be
I
in
mean,
all
there's like
those
six
different
of them or
places.
whatever. Yeah.
Right. So let's go back to Jared. Let's use him as an example. So, what is the purpose and what are we supposed to know by identifying that this is a man who is taking on the ambassador roles, negotiation roles for major states, heads of state, and has not been elected or has not been and had any experience in this? What are we supposed to understand about that?
Just that that's what's happened all the time, you know, that they've infiltrated, and he'll be shown to be one of the 13 families. I mean, his family will be exposed, and not everybody, even the ones in a role where they're like, even Trump, you know, he's done some things that look sketchy, and then people freak out and they're like, oh, well, I thought I could trust him. And it's like, this is a movie, and however it can get exposed, it will get exposed.
Mm,
The real Trump has been working on other things for a very long time. He's not in the public eye right now.
mhm,
And his brand is being used to finish the job, basically. So, if he gets exposed for AI or, there was something, oh, when the vaccines came out and he was like on board, so many people were angry and blaming Trump and all this kind of stuff, but the human consciousness wasn't ready for there to not be a vaccine. So it would have been worse if he had basically,
mm,
like, if they had done anything at that point, we would have had a lot more humans exit,
mm,
and it would have
mhm,
messed up everything that we're doing. So you have to realize ultimately the universe is in charge.
mm.
But
So, and these brands are
yeah.
just playing these roles. But Kushner's one is interesting because he's an American, but he also has very strong Jewish ties. And it was known that marrying Trump's daughter, that he was Jewish and his grandchildren are Jewish. Is there a reason for that conflict within Trump's family or that
Well, I
company?
think they need to show what has gone on, and also that no one has been safe. Almost, anybody that was somebody in society could have gotten infiltrated somehow.
Mhm, mhm.
And, she did get infiltrated by that family. And whether he was as negative as, all of them or not, he definitely was pretty negative, I think. So it will be exposed. It probably will be something that is seen and is very destructive to their family. I would imagine that he won't stay part of the family.
Okay, so that something will come out of all of this.
Yeah,
But
that's what
he's
it feels
taken on
like.
this big role for negotiation, which is interesting. But I also thought too, there was something related to how, as you said in the beginning, these people are not elected. They have no accountability to who we are.
No.
I like this one post that said that the government is public and we know nothing about them, but we're private and they know everything about us.
Yeah,
It's a really good observation. I love that one. I put that on the Telegram
that's
as well. So
really
take a
good.
look at
Yeah.
that, guys. Yeah, it's super nice. So let's talk a little bit about financials because obviously everybody is so interested in what's going on from the financial perspective. We've got gold and silver being, sort of coming down. We saw the Japanese stock market crash big time as the markets open today. And then we're hearing about stuff going on with crypto and XRP. So, honey, what's going on with XRP right now? What can we learn from what's happening in the crypto markets?
I get there waiting to flip the switch right now. So, it all depends on when the military comes in, that's the moment that the financial system also starts to switch. They're not going to hit everybody with all of this negativity and not say, and on the other side of that, you no longer have to be stressed about money. That will be part of what comes in that, package of disclosure. So it will be flipped around then. I shared something today that was like, I think I was the head of Ripple that said it. He basically said, XRP will be treated like gold. And that's important because it will be the, means of exchange for gold. And it'll be
Mhm.
great to get out of the fiat system. And it will be hard for people to wrap their head around a lot of the stuff that's gone on. So I think getting them out of their nervous system and letting them know that they don't have to worry about food or shelter or war, that's going to be the big thing that happens along with all the disclosure.
That's very interesting because it's really about, yeah, it's transitioning to that and that obviously giving something really positive as we go through this because people are going to have this massive awareness and shock. Let's talk then about, so you've got XRP coming out there, and you said there's going to be this flipping of a switch. There's information that's coming out in the EU that says by January 22nd, by January of 2027, there will no longer be cash in the European society. Is that a positive announcement saying that that's when we're flipping over in Europe?
I actually get that's part of disclosure because Europe
Um,
probably would have lost cash first
mhm.
because they've been manipulated longer. So, and they're used to more ridiculous rules. So the whole
Very.
cash thing, yeah, I don't get that cash is going to actually go away. It'll be
Okay.
around for quite a while, I think, in one way or another. Even if it becomes like, oh, well, I have these little tiny beads of gold, on a string and I can go
Mm,
pay that way. Like it it'll be around because you'll need some sort of physical exchange.
mhm. So exchange for a while and cash will be something or other. Is then this announcement with the EU saying we're going to get rid of cash, is that to wake the people up beyond the digital, those who are in the digital world?
Yeah.
Because this in Europe, it's the last thing that people can do to have any kind of control in their life is to use cash versus credit cards and digital money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a scare thing, but the biggest thing will be when it doesn't happen and Europe can say, some European person can say, look what they were going to do to us. and we got saved from that.
So this the head of the EU, because first of all, it's supposed to be an economic union, a trade union, a single currency, but none of that is true within the EU. The one thing you can do is travel freely within the Schengen region, the 27 states of the Schengen region, which are not all EU states. And so here we are in a world where you have this layer above your government. So in a way, it's like our state, the US equivalent to a state, and then the federal. But the federal level in the EU was never elected.
No.
They were appointed, not elected.
Well, and they'll come down in the same time as the Israel government comes down.
Are we close?
It feels really close to me, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
I really try to temper that because but we're also in the year of the fire horse. I mean, things are moving fast. People are being
Mm-hmm.
pushed to the limit too. And also their emotions are being pushed to the limit. So people who have like, let's say you're a people pleaser or you're always caretaking people or something. And that's not being sovereign. It's not being honest. So your people pleasing is being pushed to the limit, or you're, caretaking others or whatever is being pushed so hard that you finally say, okay, no more,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's happening inside of us and outside.
Wow,
And
that's
yeah, so it's a big, like energetically, it is like a wildfire, basically, that we're in.
wow, that's good. That's very, very good. All right. So we've got transitions, what's going on in the money system, which is very interesting. Then this weekend, I was in Greece and there was my first earthquake. There was an earthquake, a 5.6 magnitude earthquake on the mainland. And I was on an island. And I felt it on the island. There was a tremor and it happened twice, kind of a thing. What was the earthquake there? What was that natural?
Oh, it comes in snow. So, it wasn't
I didn't cause it,
natural.
right?
Yeah, no, huh? It feels like, you know how in San Francisco there's like that underground thing where the submarines can go under and right in the San Francisco Bay, and a lot of people have pictures of it, and it feels like that to me. Feels like a depot.
Mm.
And they were basically getting rid of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because it was exactly 10 kilometers in depth.
Oh, oh, yeah,
So there's something going on there. But it
yeah.
was very interesting. My first earthquake, it was not fearful. It was definitely just, and evidently they experienced them quite a bit. So there's a lot of activity, seismic activity that's happening right now. So very interesting.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting.
Mother
Yeah.
Earth is very busy as well.
Yes, she is very busy. And she's continuing to rain here in Europe. Is there anything that we need to know? Is there going to be more flooding here?
I don't really feel like there'll be any really significant flooding, but they really want people to pay attention to the climate being out of whack,
Hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
basically it's switched.
Mm-hmm.
So they want people to be aware of that,
Hmm.
especially when they start to talk about it.
Yeah,
Like,
very
because if
interesting.
they don't have a point of reference, if humanity's like, no, it's been sunshiny and perfect here, then they
Mm.
won't believe that. And the all the stuff about the chemtrails, like around here anyway, people are so mad about the chemtrails, and it's like they've been like saucing us every day with chemtrails. Like they're doing it on purpose to make sure everybody knows.
Mm. Is
Mhm.
it a little bit like what Trump going and saying glyphosate okay? It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Because
Get
guess
people
who's going to
awareness?
get mad about that then? Well, a liberal person would be really mad about that,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
A gluten-free liberal person would be really, really angry about that.
Mm.
And he is a catalyst. He's not supposed to be like this sweet grandpa, Santa Claus, hero person. He's supposed to be there to break it all apart.
Right. And to separate us and to
Yeah.
galvanize us to do it.
And poke us when we're basically acting like
Hmm.
everything's
Or
fine.
just in general. And if that one doesn't bother you, let me go to the next. Let me go to the
Yeah.
next because I'm going to do something that's going to bother you. It's very interesting. So the one other question I was going to ask you about, which is sort of came up in another video that I was doing. They
Mhm.
say there are 12 stargates in the world that we know today, but there's this number 13 that really sort of
Yeah.
comes up all the time. I get 13. What do you get? What are the Stargates?
Yeah, I agree with you. I get 13 within the realm that we know. So within
Yeah.
where the dome was, 13. Um, Beyond, like, there's so many.
Mm.
There's so
Hmm.
many. I mean, we have been not even a fourth of Earth have we been privy to because there was an outer ring. So we've probably been aware of like, I don't know, a 15th of Earth. So as we expand and start to travel and start to talk to interdimensionals and ETs and that's just the top surface,
Hmm.
There's so much out there.
This is going to be fun. That's great. That's very exciting. Wow. Now, you had something that you were sharing with me before we got on, and you said that you saw something interesting on TikTok. You want to share that with us?
Yeah. So I saw a giant and he was supposedly 9 foot 10 inches tall. And standing next to him was a girl on a stool. So think about the stools where you have to get to the top of the cupboard and they've got three
Hmm.
steps on them. So she
Hmm.
was at the top of that and he helped her get down. And he was also a very dark skinned person. So the last two giants that ended up, I think, at a Ripple event, and they said there were basketball players, were over 8 feet tall. And this guy is over 9 feet tall. And the first thing that popped in was, well, that was the normal size of a human being, you know,
Wow.
like a 10 foot
Wow.
tall person. Yeah. So I do think that some of the Tartarian larger bloodline is going to come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of
Wow,
these
that's
people
really
are in
cool.
Africa.
Well, it looks like that way because if you look at basketball teams, they're 8 feet, over 7 feet, and then
Yeah.
some of them are 8 feet tall, and they're mostly African, or
Hmm.
at least that's what we said, the darker skin that comes. Is
Yeah.
that really actually?
Yeah. And I feel like they've been, what's that movie? Wakanda Forever. There is a hidden part of Africa that we don't know about. And
Oh,
that's where they're coming from, I think. Yeah.
wow.
Yep.
So genetically, where did they come from? Is there a star race or a race that they came from, or as the Anunnakis had seeded us and played around with our genetics, where did they come from?
I
The
feel like they're
taller.
quite original. Humanly original. I feel like they were everywhere when we were in the Tartarian civilization, and somehow they escaped like being eradicated. So maybe
Ah,
they really do have tremendous technology that protected them.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
I've always found that every one of those Marvel stories had a lot of truth in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
That's
love to talk about more
interesting.
about that movie now. So,
I know that's really interesting. Okay, honey. Once again, every time we talk, there's always something that's really,
yeah.
really, really interesting on there. Wow. Well, I think that's a wonderful thing. Very, very interesting. I love that.
Mm,
Excellent. Well, honey, I think that's it for today. But thank you
yeah.
so much. Is there any
Thank you.
last things you want to talk about before we close out for today?
Just hang in there, you guys. We are getting very close, and I'm very in the mode of let's rip the band-aid off and just get it done. So,
Mhm.
if you're in that mode as well, yay, because it's time just to get it done. Yep.
I love that. Let's just do it. Let's get it done and let's put that energy out there. Wonderful. Well,
Yes.
honey, thank you so much for joining me. This is Lisa from Question the Narrative, wishing everybody a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Ciao.
Love you guys.